Well, good morning, and welcome back to It's Lit with Mitch, where I read powerful literature out loud beginning to end. And we're still in the Holy Bible, we're in Deuteronomy, and we'll dive in here in just a second. Today is February 7th, 2022, which is also my 29th birthday. I don't know how the hell this happened so swiftly, but here we go. One more year in my 20s, and perhaps by the end of this one, I'll be by the time I reach 30, maybe I'll be done with the Bible. So we're gonna dive in. I could probably get through a few chapters, but I thought, what better way, to start off the day than to dive into the Bible and make a quick episode. Really, I need to make a quick episode today and tomorrow because I'll be gone for a week out of town. So I'm like, I need to get some progress done. I'm committed to just even some progress every week so that I make sure I stay on top of it. So anyway, I'm excited. We're gonna dive in, get some Deuteronomy done. All right. Oh yeah, that's what we're doing. Moses is reminding everybody of their rules and regulations again, now that they are about to cross the Jordan River and, inhabit the land for which they've gone on this trek, and conquer it. So, chapter 13, a warning against idolatry. Moses says, with the Lord speaking through Moses, "Suppose there are prophets among you, or those who dream dreams about the future, and they promise you signs or miracles, and the predicted signs or miracles occur. If they then say, 'Come, let us worship other gods you have not known before,' do not listen to them. The Lord your God is testing you to see if you truly love him with all your heart and soul. Serve only the Lord your God and fear him alone. Obey his commands, listen to his voice, and cling to him. The false prophets or visionaries," my mom's calling me for my birthday. "Serve only the Lord your God and fear him alone. Obey his commands, listen to his voice, and cling to him. The false prophets or visionaries who try to lead you astray must be put to death, for they encourage rebellion against the Lord your God, who redeemed you from slavery and brought you out of the land of Egypt. Since they try to lead you astray from the way the Lord your God commanded you to live, you must put them to death. In this way, you will purge the evil from among you. Suppose someone secretly entices you, even your brother, your son or daughter, your beloved wife, or your closest friend, and says, 'Let us worship other gods that neither you nor your ancestors have known.' They might suggest that you worship the gods of peoples who live nearby or who come from the ends of the earth. But do not give in or listen. Have no pity, and do not spare or protect them. You must put them to death. Strike the first blow yourself, and then all the people must join in. Stone the guilty ones to death because they have tried to draw you away from the Lord your God, who rescued you from the land of Egypt, the place of slavery. Then all Israel will hear about it and be afraid, and no one will act so wickedly again. When you begin living in the towns the Lord your God is giving you, you may hear that scoundrels among you are leading their fellow citizens astray by saying, 'Let us go worship other gods you have not known before.' In such cases, you must examine the facts carefully. If you find that the report is true and such a detestable act has been committed among you, you must attack that town and completely destroy all its inhabitants, as well as all the livestock. Then you must pile all the plunder in the middle of an open square and burn it. Burn the entire town as a burnt offering to the Lord your God. That town must remain a ruin forever. It may never be rebuilt. Keep none of the plunder that has been set apart for destruction. Then the Lord will turn from his fierce anger and be merciful to you. He will have compassion on you and make a large nation, just as he swore to your ancestors. The Lord your God will be merciful only if you listen to his voice and keep all his commands that I am giving you today, doing what pleases him." So that's a lot. That was book That was chapter 13. I'm just looking for my highlighter here. Because there was some stuff in there. Well, guess I'm using a new highlighter. So this is interesting. Someone may secretly entice you. They may suggest you worship gods of people who live nearby or people who are on the ends of the earth. And the Lord says, have no pity. Do not give in or listen, have no pity, and do not spare or protect them. You must put them to death. Strike the first blow yourself, and then all peoples must join in. Stone the guilty ones to death, because they tried to draw you away from the Lord. And certainly people who do take this stuff much more literally do exist. But it's not about God that I feel, I shouldn't say never, because I was ignorant about what Christians actually were. In this case, we're talking about the books of Moses, but this is the Bible ultimately. But Christians, I didn't know, what they actually were. And then my lived experience with Christians throughout, my entire life, throughout, my adult life, whenever I've been paying attention mostly, has been wonderful. They've been tolerant and open and friendly and loving and kind. When I read this, I don't get, and I know we're in the New Testament, like I understand all that. But when I read that and I, transpose that to the people who are nowadays worshiping government, and if, they have this idolatry of government, I mean, these people who are worshiping the government right now, they are saying, do not give in or listen to the people who do not worship the government. They have no pity, and they do not spare or protect the people who do not worship the government. They want them put to death. They often strike the first blow themselves, and then they ask the rest of the people to join in, and they stone the guilty ones who do not worship government to death because they tried to draw you away from the government. Who rescued us from COVID? Who rescued us from the end of all existence? Who rescued us from, the insurrection, right? So anyway, that's what I don't know. When I read that, I'm thinking more about the people who worship government, because I've never, I can find places on the planet where people would treat me like that. There are people who would kill me without a second thought on the planet somewhere, right? But nonetheless, moving on, chapter 13, ceremonially clean and unclean animals. Since you are the people of the Lord. Wow. We're just going to try that over. Since you are the people of the Lord your God, never cut yourselves or shave the hair above your foreheads in the mourning for the dead. Above your foreheads, in mourning for the dead, not in the morning. Got it. You have been set apart as holy to the Lord your God, and he has chosen you from all the nations of the earth to be his own special treasure. You must not eat any detestable animals that are ceremonially unclean. These are the animals you may eat: the ox, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the gazelle, the roe deer, the wild goat, the addax, the antelope, and the mountain sheep. That could be a song. You may eat any animal that has completely split hooves and chews the cud. But if an animal doesn't have both, it may not be eaten. So you may not eat the camel, the hare, or the hyrax, whatever that is. They chew the cud but do not have split hooves, so they are ceremonially unclean for you. And you may not eat the pig. It has split hooves but does not chew the cud, so it is ceremonially unclean for you. You may not eat the meat of these animals or even touch their carcasses. Of all the marine animals, you may eat whatever has both fins and scales. You may not, however, eat marine animals that do not have both fins and scales. They are ceremonially unclean for you. You may eat any bird that is ceremonially clean. These are the birds you may not eat: the griffin vulture, the bearded vulture, the black vulture, the kite, the falcon, buzzards of all kinds, ravens of all kinds, the eagle owl, the short-eared owl, the seagull, hawks of all kinds, the little owl, the great owl, the barn owl, the desert owl, the Egyptian vulture, the cormorant, the stork, herons of all kinds, the hoopoe, and the bat. All winged insects that walk along the ground are ceremonially unclean for you and may not be eaten, but you may eat any winged bird or insect that is ceremonially clean. You must not eat anything that has died a natural death. You may give it to a foreigner living in your town, or you may sell it to a stranger, but do not eat it yourselves, for you are set apart as holy to the Lord your God. You must not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. The giving tithes. You must set aside a tithe of your crops, 1/10 of all the crops you harvest each year. Bring this tithe to the designated place of worship, the place the Lord your God chooses for his name to be honored, and eat it there in his presence. This applies to your tithes of grain, new wine, olive oil, and firstborn males of your flocks and herds. Doing this will teach you to always fear the Lord your God. Now when the Lord your God blesses you with a good harvest, the place of worship he chooses for his name to be honored might be too far for you to bring the tithe. If so, you may sell the tithe portion of your crops and herds, put the money in a pouch, and go to the place the Lord your God has chosen. When you arrive, you may use the money to buy any kind of food you want: cattle, sheep, goats, wine, and other alcoholic drink. Then feast there in the presence of the Lord your God, and celebrate with your heart, with your household, And do not neglect the Levites in your town, for they will receive no allotment of land among you. At the end of every 3rd year, bring the entire tithe of that year's harvest and store it in the nearest town. Give it to the Levites, who will receive no allotment of land among you, as well as to the foreigners living among you, the orphans and the widows in your towns, so they can eat and be satisfied. Then the Lord your God will bless you in all your work. Chapter 15. Release for debtors. At the end of the 7th of every 7th year, you must cancel the debts of everyone who owes you money. This is how it must be done. Everyone must cancel the loans they have made to their fellow Israelites. They must not demand payment from their neighbors or relatives, for the Lord's time of release has arrived. This release from debt, however, applies only to your fellow Israelites, not to the foreigners living among you. That's sort of like a credit union that every 7 years will forgive the debts of the members, but people can be members of the credit union, but they don't get their debts forgiven. Anyway, that is an this is probably huge as far as, because I've heard about the 7-year cycle before. That's probably huge, and it's an interesting idea. There should be no poor among you, for the Lord your God will greatly bless you in the land he is giving you as a special possession. I wonder what the consequences of that would be if debts had to be canceled every 7th year. You would have no debts larger than a 7th year period. It's just that's interesting to think about. I can't wait to talk to a guy about it. There will be no poor among you, for the Lord your God will greatly bless you in the land he is giving you as a special possession. You will receive this blessing if you are careful to obey all the commands of the Lord your God that I am giving you today. The Lord your God will bless you as he promised. You will lend money to many nations, but will never need to borrow. You will rule many nations, but they will not rule over you. If there are any poor Israelites in your towns when you arrive in the land the Lord your God is giving you, do not be hard-hearted or tight-fisted toward them. Instead, be generous and lend them whatever they need. Do not be mean-spirited and refuse someone a loan because the year for canceling debts is close at hand. If you refuse to make the loan and the needy person cries out to the Lord, you will be considered guilty of sin. Give generously to the poor, not grudgingly, for the Lord your God will bless you in everything you do. There will always be some in the land who are poor. That is why I am commanding you to share freely with the poor and other Israelites in need. There will always be some in the land who are poor. Release for Hebrew slaves. If a fellow Hebrew sells himself or herself to be your servant and serves you for 6 years, in the 7th year you must set that servant free. When you release a male servant, do not send him away empty-handed. Give him a generous farewell gift from your flock, your threshing floor, and your winepress. Share with him some of the bounty with which the Lord your God has blessed you. Remember that you were once slaves in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you. That is why I am giving you this command. But suppose your servant says, I will not leave you, because he loves you and your family, and he has done well with you. In that case, take an awl and push it through his earlobe into the door. After that, he will be your servant for life, and do the same for your female servants. You must not consider it a hardship when you release your servants. Remember that for 6 years they have given you services worth double the wages of hired workers, and the Lord your God will bless you in all you do. You must set aside for the Lord your God all the firstborn males from your flocks and herds. Do not use the firstborn of your herds to work your fields, and do not shear the firstborn of your flocks. Instead, you and your family must eat these animals in the presence of the Lord your God each year at the place he chooses. But if this firstborn animal has any defect, such as lameness or blindness, or if anything else is wrong with it, you must not sacrifice it to the Lord your God. Instead, use it for food for your family in your hometown. Anyone, whether ceremonially clean or unclean, may eat it, just as anyone may eat a gazelle or deer. But you must not consume the blood. You must pour it out on the ground like water. All right. We're going to wrap up today quickly. I just needed to get some done. A little bit of progress. Every little, chipping away at it. Very interesting. The release for debtors. I'm just really curious to talk to the gentleman that I have lined up to talk about Deuteronomy and the books of Moses. All right. I hope everyone has a great day. Bye-bye.